Hello everyone, my name is Drusilla Williams. My colleague and I, Roger Douglas, will be your trainers for today. The topic of today's training is intercultural business communication. Usually one would expect this type of training to be provided to the expatriate who is about to leave for a foreign country. And while there will be information provided during this training that would be beneficial to the expatriate, the truth of the matter is that it is no longer necessary to go outside of the United States to live and work among people of international cultures.
That is so true. The reality is that the world is represented here in America. And as globalization makes the world an even smaller place, more people from different countries will continue to come to live and work here. Therefore, this training will prove valuable to anyone who works with or is involved in business transactions with people of other cultures. In the words of the author Robert Young, there is perhaps no more important topic in the social sciences than the study of intercultural communication.
Thank you for making that point, Roger. As we begin this training, I think a perfectly reasonable question would be, why do we need to make a distinction between intercultural business communication and intercultural communication? Isn't it all communication? Well, the reason that a distinction needs to be made for intercultural business communication is because of its context. Intercultural business communication takes place in a business environment which possesses a unique culture. You would not be able to take a model for intercultural business communication and place it in a model for intercultural religious communication, because the key variables that make business, such as management strategies, human resource issues, and planning and development, would be left out. It should also be mentioned that the focus cannot only be on business in the generic, but it must be on the specific workplace context because, as I previously stated, businesses all have unique cultures. Now that we have discussed the importance of intercultural business communication, Roger, why don't you talk to the trainees about what we mean when we use the word culture?
Certainly. Exactly what is culture? When you think of culture, what pictures come to your mind? Do you envision exotic food, traditional clothing, celebrations, a couple dancing the tango? If so, this is a good start, since culture incorporates the things about a group of people that can be perceived with the five senses, like food, traditional clothing, celebrations, music, and sports. If you were asked to describe or draw an analogy of culture, what metaphor or analogy would you use? I think it could be said that culture is like a mountain because it can be seen from a distance. But as you come closer, you get a different perspective and are able to see things you may not have been able to see from a distance, such as streams and flowers or small animals. There is no right or wrong answer. This is just a way to begin to think about the meaning of culture.
I think the mountain metaphor is very good, Roger. It gives me a good visual for the word culture. The metaphor often used by cross-culturalists is the iceberg.
That's right. That's because an iceberg helps visualize the fact that much of what can be known about culture is hidden from the natural eye. The same way that 80% of an iceberg is hidden underwater, just like an iceberg, it is the parts of culture you cannot see that will have the greatest impact on your business efforts among other cultures. You see, the tip of the iceberg represents anything that can be perceived with the five senses. The bottom of the iceberg represents, in general, the opinions, viewpoints, attitudes, philosophies, values, and convictions of a culture. The bottom of the iceberg is the foundation of the behaviors you see at the tip of the iceberg. If you can understand the underlying causes of why people behave the way they do, you are more likely to be able to anticipate how they may act or react in a variety of situations. Of course, no one can guarantee how another individual will respond in a given situation. But if you consistently observe a pattern of behavior in a group or individual, you can begin to understand the values beneath the actions that may explain why they behave the way they do, which may help you adjust your behavior to suit a particular intercultural business interaction. I wanted to work with the metaphor of the iceberg before giving you the definition, because I think having worked with the metaphor you can better understand and appreciate the definition. For the purpose of this training, we are going to use the definition of culture developed by Dr. Brooks Peterson. Dr. Peterson teaches intercultural business communication at the graduate level and is founder and president of Across Cultures Inc., a consulting firm that provides intercultural business communication training to a variety of companies and agencies in the United States and internationally. Dr. Peterson defines culture as the relatively stable set of inner values and beliefs, generally held by groups of people in countries or regions, and the noticeable impact those beliefs and values have on the people's outward behavior and environment.
This is an excellent definition of the word culture, Roger. It really captures the iceberg metaphor. The relatively stable set of inner values and beliefs generally held by a group of people in countries or regions represents the bottom of the iceberg, which is hidden from sight. The noticeable impact those beliefs and values have on the people's outward behavior and environment is the tip of the iceberg. If we keep in mind that there is an underlying value or belief that causes a person or a group to behave the way they do, this knowledge can give us insight into the culture we are interacting with.
You make a very good point, Drusilla. But we have run out of time here. I will have to ask you and our trainees to join me in part 2 to continue the training.
Okay. See you in part 2.